All right, welcome back, everybody. This is another episode of Liquid Drop. Not sure which episode it is. I'll put that in the chat. I'll put that in the feed. But welcome back. Today, we're going to have a fun conversation. With me, I have Shayna.
Hello, hello.
And as you know, we are both from OAF Discussions. And we're just having a little conversation for the day over Black Mirror. If you've heard one of the previous episodes, 2 episodes ago, we went into Black Mirror and we went over episodes USS
Callister.
And we alluded to the episode of Black Mirror, episode 4, season 4, Hang the DJ.
Indeed.
And we're going to go ahead and get into Hang the DJ today. And just talk a little, we'll see how that goes. But we'll probably get into how, thoughts on that and potential, like how real is that? In current life, like how real could this be, that episode of Hang the DJ? So, yeah, let's go for it. So what was your thoughts on Hang the DJ?
I found it extremely interesting, that whole dating process. So basically, they use an app, so to speak. They call it a coach, and it sets them up on these dates. And everything is planned out to a T for them. They do nothing. Everything from where to go, what meal they order, who they're with, how much time they spend with that person. It's all completely broken down. And that was mind-blowing. In a way, I'm like, that could be cool, take some of the pressure off, but at the same time, oh man, especially when you find out how much time is allotted, which is so random.
Yeah, so that was the part I was like, wait a minute. So, to piggyback off that one, so they're on the date and they could at any time see how much time they get, as you said. The example in the show, one of them was like, what was it, 36 hours?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe, no, 12 hours. The first person, the little couple, was 12 hours. And you realize it was like kind of an awkward first date, but kind of how some dates go. You don't really know what to say. You both make the best of it, and everybody's a little shy, awkward, stuff like that. What I didn't realize with that was that on the whole series of dates, basically it's all planned out through the app. Was that okay? They got their 12 hours, so when the date was over at the dinner, they still had to hang out for the allotted time. Which threw me off because I was like, well, it could be both good and bad. If the date goes really horrible and you're just like, man, I want to be out, you still have to hang out with them for another, suppose, let's say 8 more hours. And they give you like a little car, picks you up, takes you to a hotel, and you get and then they both, like, the door, I guess, locks, and then they're there until the door unlocks and sends them on their way. What'd you think about that part right there? Like, just the allotted time.
That sounds so uncomfortable.
Okay. All right.
Like, forced time to be with someone that you barely know.
Yeah.
And if you aren't gelling, then it's just, I'm stuck.
It has to feel like you're eating glass. Like, it has to be bad. So, they did go through the scenario. I was like, okay, so I'm wondering what's, like, the longest time a person could get, right? I guess it could have said forever or, like, 99 years or something. But I was like, what if it said, and then the next example, the couple, they didn't, they spent their 12 hours, it was awkward, blah, blah, blah. If you've seen the episode, then this is just kind of a slight recap, just in case you've seen it a while ago. The next date, I want to say the guy got a date the girl, because we're following the girl and the guy. The girl had a date for 9 months, and the guy had a date for, was it a year?
Yes, and the names are Amy and Frank.
Okay. Is that the? Oh yeah, Frank. So Amy got a date for 9 months, and her next date, the dude seems really suave. He had like you know, he seemed like he knew what he was doing. He seemed like he was in control, things like that. While Frank got a chick, or his date was complete opposite of him. Like she seemed to already have made her mind up, like this ain't gonna work. You could kind of look on her face. She was like, all right, let's get this over with. This is probably only gonna say an hour. And then they got 12 months, and they still had to hang out. Like you could tell they they honestly didn't like each other.
Yes, like she made the comment he likes to joke around, and that's where his first date went so well, because they just kept busting jokes. They had the same type of humor and sarcasm, and she's like, oh, you're the type that makes jokes. Gross. She was not feeling it at all.
Yeah. So you have both of them take the period of time, and I was like, if you spend a long enough period of time, you always find something about them that you dislike, that annoys you. Now, I want to pause for a whole second. I was wondering, in the sense of this, I was in the middle of this episode, I was like, do they not have jobs?
Yes.
I was like, do they not get a chance to, like, literally go do something else? like, are they literally stuck in the house and they get to go for walks and stuff like that, but they're stuck on the property and grounds? I was like, who's paying for meals? Who's cooking? How do you sign up for that? Like, you know what? You could get forever. You could get 3 years. You could get, 3 hours. But you got to do your bit. Like, you got to do your time either way and make the best of it. I don't think I could sign up for a program like that.
Never.
Nah.
Especially, like, I get sick of people so easily. So to be, like, literally trapped in someone's presence, I would not survive, or they wouldn't survive.
Yeah, one of us would have been on that couch. Like, if I was in this situation, I'm pretty sure I'd have been like, all right, let's just end this now. Who do I need to talk to? Coach, I'm done. I'm done, buddy.
Exactly. It's kind of like Amy, like how at first, like, she liked the guy. She was like, oh, this is cool. But then he did that thing every time he drank something.
First time I heard it, I was
and she's like, I wouldn't kill you.
Oh, she gave him a look like, I'm going to murder you in your sleep. And I thought it was like a joke at first. Like, maybe he drank something so refreshing. Because I think they just had sex. And then he got him some water. I was like, okay, so maybe he had something so refreshing. And he's like, that was amazing. Now, this is how this guy does every drink he does. If he swallows his spit, I was like, who's he doing, a Sprite commercial? So, yeah, so that was crazy to me. Now, these two finally do their time, and you could tell, like, both parties is just hating it. Oh, even Frank was trying to, like, I guess, have sex with that woman. Even that was bad. Like, she like, it was terrible. It was horrible. Like, you could tell he was like, all right, I'm doing my thing. And she was like, no, none of it's better. It all sucks. Like,
oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Like, it seems...
That was painful to watch.
Yeah, it was. I was like, this is like this is just wrong. In all accounts. Like, this is just wrong. Like, y'all were better off just playing checkers or something.
Exactly. And it's interesting because Frank, from what I remember, he kept getting put into, like, long-term relationships, right? Mm-hmm. And then Amy kept getting put into, like, 36-hour relationships over and over again. And it was interesting for me to see those two perspectives because I correlated it to real life, where you have those people who jump from long-term relationship to long-term relationship.
Yeah.
And they get comfortable and get kind of stuck and just kind of grit their teeth and deal with whatever they're dealing with their partner, whether they truly like them or not.
Yeah.
And then you have those other people that is just, they like to hook up for a little bit and then they keep it moving. Yeah. And they just keep going from person to person to person. So it was interesting to see those perspectives.
I didn't even think of it like that. That's actually a really good perspective. I didn't even think of that. I just kept seeing her get those 36. I was like, yeah, they're not meeting a quote. Like, each one of them was a weekend. It was basically like weekend flings.
Mm-hmm.
And the crazy part is he started having some of those. Like, he had a few more. Frank had a few more but he was ending up telling the other girls about the chick that he liked.
Exactly. He was hung up on the one, and that was his 12th hour, which also gave me the perspective that it doesn't matter how much time you spend with a person. If you click, you click. That's just it. No amount of time. You can't force it. It's either there or it isn't. So that was another thing that I took away from it.
I agree with that. You definitely can't force it. I think you could definitely grow. Kind of like, no, because that still kind of goes back like to your initial point. If it's there, it's there. Like, even though they didn't know it was there, that first date, they ran into each other again. It kind of like blossomed a little bit more. So yeah, I'll roll with that. What else was there? It seemed very weird. All the people that were around, they seemed very like, I kept thinking it was like staged somehow. Like, I kept thinking it like they were in the Matrix, because they made a joke like maybe we're in a simulation, and then they were like, if we were, how would I know? And then she like pinched him or hit him. He was like, nope, you can feel that you're not.
Exactly. And then like the fact that they had the guards there, making sure that everything went according to plan and he didn't break protocol, that was really strange and creepy.
That is what I couldn't figure. I was like, so in this world, why are there guards needed? And why are they at dinner? Like, and why are they watching everything? Like, they always seem to be watching them, but I figured they were watching everybody in the room. And I was like, is that a thing? Like, if you say, no, I want to walk out on this date, or you don't want to be a part of it anymore, like, what do? Do they restrain you, put you back in, knock you out, kill you?
Exactly. At first I was like, oh, okay, cool. They have guards in case someone's a creeper. That's awesome. But then it didn't feel like that after watching it for a while.
Yeah, they felt like they was on lockdown.
Right. Which makes me like, I still never got confirmation if it was a simulation or not.
Yes, they were in a simulation. Because at the end, it shows because they said they get like 99.4% success rate or something like
99.8.
99.8, my apologies. At the end, it was each scenario they ran. So when they finally like tried to leave, and they were like climbing the ladder, and we can double back and get to how we got to there. But they were climbing the ladder, and like the whole program stopped because they try to run away 99.8% of the time together.
Exactly.
That was the simulation. Like, basically was almost like if they could run 100 lives or 1,000 lives. I forgot how many times they actually ran the simulation. I think it was like 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
But it was almost like a different life. In every different scenario they could run, they came out each time doing the same thing, trying to run away no matter the situation. Exactly.
They chose each other and they were like, let's get out of here.
Yeah. And that's how they calculated their 99.8% success rate. So it was really, they were in a simulation, and then when they pop out of the simulation, like when that's done, I guess that did it in the background. Then they actually met. I think they were meeting for the first time in real life in the bar.
Ooh.
So
yeah.
They literally looked at the app, and it basically ran all the simulations, this and that, and then they were actually meeting for, I think, the real first time. And yeah, that was actually, I thought that was actually cool. What was it? So a lot of that reminded me, well, I started thinking of parallels of just kind of like internet dating, or dating in general, but internet dating, or online dating as everybody calls it, like your Tinder, your Plenty of Fish, Bumble. There's a few other, you got your Christian mingles, black people meet, whatever, everybody meets, yada yada. The couple group dating sites where you can go out with a group and y'all can do like a group date and just kind of get to know each other, that type of stuff. This episode hit a weird line that I actually believe like certain aspects of this would be really great for dating.
Mm-hmm.
So you go through an app or a service, and it basically sets you up a dinner. It picks your meals. Like it already knows like what'll be good for you or what'll be good for the other person. Like that's already taken care of. Like nobody gets allergic. And it gives you your own travel. Like it comes, picks you up, almost like your own personal Uber driver. These are self-driving cars.
Mm-hmm.
It takes you to your destination, so you don't even have to worry about like, hey, how do I get there? This and that. All you need to worry about is showing up, like putting on your clothes, showing up, and trying to have a decent time. Right? And then it gives you an after activity, so you get to meet, greet, mingle a little bit over dinner, maybe even drinks, you know, whatever your thing is. And then it takes you to another activity. I think that would be really dope, like to have that type of service. Now, locking you into a house or hotel, I can't roll with that. I know how great that would sound if, you know, somebody gets like the coldest chick or dude they've ever seen, or, you know, they dream date, until you're locked into a room with somebody and they ain't feeling you. Or
that, and there's too many crazies these days.
Yeah.
Like, just period. That feels so dangerous.
Yeah, that seemed like that seems very, very weird. But I like how they did like leave it open, like you can have sex, you can't have sex. Like y'all need to agree on that. It was like all things were consent based.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of interesting. They did cover. They had the thought to cover consent. Like basically, if you're cool with everything, now we're gonna go back to the beginning of the show, where what's the girl's name? I want to call her Adrian.
Amy.
Oh, Amy. All right. So Amy got with the second guy who did the drinking thing, the drinking noise.
Yes.
He was sitting there like, if you're cool with everything, I'm going to give consent to everything. I really thought of 50 Shades of Grey right there. Like, it really turned into a moment. He was like, I'm giving consent to everything. If you're ready, I'm ready. I'm going to hop in the shower because I'm pretty sure that, you know, right after dinner, if you get it straight in, you now know what you're in for. I was like, oh my goodness, this is going to take a quick turn, like, for the worst. Like, she's going to
He gave me creep vibes.
Yeah, like he said anything and all things. I was like, you know how many things that is? That's a lot of things. That's a lot of things.
Yes.
Maybe a person is into all things. I don't think everybody's into all things. Some things, maybe. All things, mm-mm.
And again, like, it makes you think, like, he was just so, like, step by step, so I'm going to do this and everything. He was so comfortable with it all, it was just so nonchalant. Yeah. Which, again, shows you people who are serial daters that just kind of go through the motions, and there's, like, nothing significant or special about it. He was just going through the motions. Which makes you think he's never going to get his 99.8%.
See? And I thought about that, too. But she turned into that as well. When she kept getting the 36. Like, basically, she just brought him back. She, you know, got her smash and dash in, talk, whatever. She knew nothing was happening. Was like, okay, all right, bye. See you next time. And then they run it back like, all right, you just got out of bed with somebody. You just said bye to somebody. You got a new date. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. So, yeah, what was your thoughts on the parallels? Like, you think any of that would have been good for real, like, you know, real life, or all of that really could probably end tragically? You know, it would be really bad. What were your thoughts on that?
I think they had enough safety protocols set up in that simulation where it worked.
Okay.
I feel like. And they had enough checks and balances for it. And it was interesting to see, you don't see a lot of times the women being the serial daters and going through that. Yeah. And I liked how she talked about it, and she talked about how exhausting it was and draining and just felt empty after a while. Like, sure, it was fun at first, but there's nothing there. Like, I'm tired of it, over it. And then she realized, wait, but I connect with you. Because she was always talking to Frank, because they would see each other in passing, going to other dates, or like when they had that gathering for that one couple who had gotten their 99.8%.
Yeah.
And they were celebrating them, and they were like, it works, stick with the program, it works, and everything. And they met there, and it's like, well, you're cool and everything. And they would laugh and joke about it. It was just cool, too, that they could talk openly about their other dates and everything, and not
cool.
crazy.
So one thing that did strike me was, because we do have to hit the trust issue of the whole, like, the climax of the thing was the trust issue. But before that, well, I guess after the trust issue came up, the simulation basically took all the data, like all the emotion, all the reactions, things like that. It almost seemed like it was slowly tailoring, getting a person ready for their other. Like, it almost seemed like it was putting Frank on bad, long dates so that he was ready to then be, like, almost like molding him ready to meet her again.
Exactly. And in a weird way, that's kind of, if you take the time to process things in between relationships and stuff and learn from each relationship, that's what it's supposed to be, right? Preparing you for whoever you're going to end up with.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I liked that a lot, how they did that. I could see where you're coming from, where you saw that.
Yeah, that was actually pretty, that was interesting though. Like the little coach part, I gave the coach part, I was like, oh, okay, so coach, you are doing something. Now, the big moment in the show was, I'll get that phone call in a minute. The big moment in the show was Frank and Amy meet up again. And
they're actually put on a date again.
This is their second date, right?
Yes.
Okay. So they go on a second date. They don't know it's happening. They didn't even know the rules allowed it. So they're like super happy, stoked that they get to one more time. So you can tell that they learned everything from all the past relationships and dates. They still kind of jokey with each other. But this time they Amy has to make a promise like, hey, how about we don't look at the timer? Because she's like, all I get is a certain amount of time, all these last dates, and I don't want that to happen. Like, it just spoils everything. Which I thought was an interesting way to go with it. Because I wondered, if you don't press the button, does the timer actually start? That was my original question. Like, if both people don't do the thumbprint, does the timer start? So if you don't know how long you got, do you just stay on the date infinitely? Like, I was thinking, like, is that the cheat? Is that the way to find your match? Like, both of you are just like, how about we don't hit the timer? Let's just enjoy. And then you just keep rocking out.
Exactly. I thought the same thing at first. I was like, so maybe this is how they end up together. They just don't hit the timer. Same thing, and they're just there.
Yeah. But then I flashed back to the guard, and I was like, nah, he's coming in. He's busting that stuff up. They could close the whole place down at the restaurant, and he's coming in busting that up. Like, nah, time's up. You got to go. You should have hit your timer, and you would have known. Like, I figured that was going to be the thing. So they make that little pact. They're not going to do it. And you realize one day goes by. 2 days goes by. 36 hours go by. And you're like, uh-oh. There could be something here. They're definitely past the 12-hour mark. Like, what's going on? And, you could tell them, like, both madly falling in love with each other, like, really taking the time to actually, like, learn and, be with the other person, right?
Yes, and we should emphasize, in the beginning, on their first date, they did not sleep with each other.
They did not. They
slept together, and they just held hands, and that was their tender moment, and that was it.
Yeah. Shouts out to the tender moments. They have to be wham bam, thank you.
Exactly.
And that was like the big thing that stuck out for her was the tender moment. Like, everybody else, all the other guys just wanted to hit. And every time she did her little touch thing, that's what I kept thinking in the whole show. I was like, she's just doing her little touch thing. All the guys were like, eh. But the weird thing was the creeper dude, when she did that, he thought it was a signal for sex.
Yes.
And I forgot which podcast I was listening to, maybe Room for Relations, I don't know. But they were talking about, like, intimacy. Like, people start thinking that, like, when you do a certain motion, that means sex. And for that dude, he was like, any type of touch meant sex for him.
Mm-hmm.
So that was interesting. That made me, that just raised my eyebrow. I was like, oh, yeah, that shows that right there. But so they finally had sex, and both of them were happy. We'll just say
Indeed.
both of them were happy. They enjoyed themselves thoroughly. They both were into it. It was good to see Frank with somebody who actually wanted it. Like, it wasn't a chore.
Exactly.
And
because they're to the point, like, remember that one date Frank was on,
mm-hmm.
and even the girl that he was with was pining for someone else. So he's like, is it okay if I think about her? Talking about Amy. And she's like, yeah, is it okay if I think about him while they're having sex?
Oh, wow. Well, I didn't even peep that. Like, that I didn't even peep that. But
that was like a whole conversation that happened during one of his dates while they were being intimate. And that was interesting to me too. Like, that's how far gone he talked to all of his other dates about Amy. So he was stuck from the very beginning.
Yeah, he was gone. He had his head sprung. Shout out to LL for that one. But anybody, if anybody's ever experienced either of the situations, like you've been with someone and you were thinking about someone else, that's a whole scenario. Like, that's a whole situation. Or if you've ever been in a situation where you are having sex, but it's basically just almost like a chore. You know how that feels. And I'm trying to think of how I want to say this. No, I'm just gonna leave it be. But I had experienced the chore one, like where it just is a chore, like it's not like you've checked out mostly, but everybody has needs, yada yada. You do it.
Yeah.
It's not that you're into it for real. Like, it's just kind of like going through the motions.
Mm-hmm.
I can actually say, and I'll share this with you, Shayna. I did meet a woman once, and it was through messages, and she basically mentioned that if we had got together, she would be thinking of someone else. Like, she had like needs, but she was like, she would be thinking of someone else even if we did hook up. And I thought that was like the most weirdest thing for somebody else to say. Like, how do you tell somebody that?
Yeah, I don't even know, like, why even bother if that's the case.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we never hooked up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Dodged a bullet.
Yeah. I dodged a bullet on that one. But, so you have the trust issue. And every relationship has to build trust. And, so their whole relationship's going good. Neither one of them has pressed the button. And you could tell the guy just wanted to know. Like, everything's going so good. And it started as like an innocent thought. Like all things. Like, you're in a relationship. You're like, man, this is going so good. I wonder if it could really take the next step. Or we can make this really last longer. And his came in the form of he never got to press the button to see how long they had.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Instead of just trusting what they had, he wanted to look at the timer.
Yeah. But I think it was really just from the innocent of like, I just need to know, is it 2 more days so I can enjoy it, or is it like 12 years? Because I think he just wanted to glance at it and then go on about what he was doing. The problem was it kept eating him inside, as everybody's seen, and he ended up pressing the button against the rules, against the coach, against her. She was asleep, right? Or in the shower or something like that.
Yeah, he snuck outside.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they were taking baths together. I don't know about you. I don't think I've ever taken a bath with somebody. But it just seemed like some weird shit that I was like, if I had a tub big enough, I probably would try that bullshit.
It's amazing.
Okay, well then shouts out.
It's just nice to relax and chit chat and enjoy the bubbles and have some wine, some champagne or something.
I won't lie. The shit looked dope. Right? In its own bullshit type of way. It looked dope. Like, I can admit it, I ain't never experienced no bubble bath, like, with somebody. Like, shower, cool. But that was like, that's a whole nother level when you can eat cheese and crackers and wine and be sitting in there with your, I guess, significant other. Like, there's got to be some dope stuff. You know what I'm saying?
It's a whole different level of comfort. It's just relaxation.
Yeah. So shouts out to all people that's able to take baths and showers, or just baths. I'm gonna say take baths and showers with their significant other or main squeeze. You know what I'm saying? I'm not giving any shouts out to side chicks or dudes. No. No,
we don't respect y'all.
Yeah. Do better. Level up. Either take the chick or dude or game a new one. You know what I'm saying? Like, just one or the other. Like, do better.
Don't get me started on a rant. We don't need to go there.
Let's finish this and you can
feel
rant.
Rant coming.
You can rant, but let's just make it through this, all right? We're doing good. We're doing good. So, take it from there. He presses the button. What happened? What'd you think of what happened?
He ruins everything. Seriously, Locke and I were both screaming at this TV when he was going to press the button. We kept trying to, scream, don't do it, like we're watching a horror movie. We were so angry, we were like, don't do it. And then he did it. And then what happens? He ruins the clock, because they had, what, was it 8 years? 8 years or 12 years, something like that?
8 or 12 years. We'll just roll with that. 8 or 12 years.
Locke just said 5 years from the background.
All right, plus or minus 5. All right, that's fine. 5 years. 5 years.
Yeah, and then because he clicked the button without her consent and ruined everything and broke the trust, the clock just started rolling back and rolling back.
Really quick.
It rolled back. So it went from 5 years to 3 years to 12 months to a couple of days to suddenly just a few hours.
Yeah.
He opened his cheeks and pooped on everything.
What is the reference from? I feel like that's a Game of Thrones reference. No, that's an old Spartacus reference. The gods open the clouds and shit on everyone, or something like that, and poop on everyone, something like
that.
Oh man, Spartacus was a good one too. All right, so.
And he still didn't tell her. He tried to hide it from her.
But how could he tell her? How could he tell her at this point? I was like, okay, so honestly, I was like, this dude's he's gotta press the button. But he doesn't know what's gonna happen. Right? And then even 5 years, that would have disappointed him. Because he would have knew for 4 years, for 4.5 years, basically for 3 good years, that was gonna be the tip of the iceberg. And then whatever else was going to be the downward spiral. Mm-hmm. So I was like, it's kind of like when people say hey, would you want to know when you're going to die? No, because you're going to have that on your mind. If they tell you in 15 years, yeah, the next 10 years you might go wild and crazy. But them last few years when you're getting close, no, you're going to be preparing to die. You're going to be waiting for the end. And that is not a way to live. You know what I'm saying? That is not an active way for your brain to know how to live. You know what I'm saying? If you know if you're sick and you may have an expiration date, then okay, you make the best of it. But that's a totally different mindset.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he pressed the button, and I wasn't yelling at the TV, but I was seriously like, you're gonna press the button, but the problem is, how are you gonna tell her? Are you gonna lie about it? You gonna be straight up? But then when the clock started rolling back, I was like, oh goodness, oh bruh, you messed up. How bad did you break her trust? You broke her trust. It went from 5 years to 30, less than 30 hours, less than 20 hours. You know what I'm saying? Less than a day. And she's just sound asleep right now. I was like, that's how bad you fucked up, dog. So when he tells her, she flips, right?
Yeah, and he went they went through. I think it went to like 8 hours, right? So then they spent like the last 8 hours together, and he didn't tell her until there was like what, 2 or 3 hours left, if that.
So. Yeah, I think it was less than an hour. They had enough time to take a ride home. Like that was
Yes.
That was
And they were out in public, and they were walking, and he was not the same after that. Of course, he was sulking and silent and distant. And she's like, "What's up with you? What's going on?" You know, like women do. And he's not saying anything. And then she finally pulls it out of him. And she, of course, rightfully so, she's pissed. And like she said, you ruined everything.
Yep.
You had to ruin everything. She's pissed. She kind of hits him a little bit and storms off.
Yep.
And she was devastated, of course. And yeah, that was that. And it was very sad.
That was the part I was like, dang, this is rough. And the whole time before he pressed the button, she was like, how about we run off together? How about we say, skip the buttons, skip the time, skip all that, skip this game. We just go do our own thing, right? And then he couldn't stay ride or die and just roll with it, which would have been hard either way. I honestly think it would have been even hard for me to be like, yes, this is amazing, but does that mean when we're asleep here, like somebody's just gonna bust in the room and kick us both out? Like, I need to know. I kind of need to know a little bit more insurance than we just playing this by ear, you know. But yeah, so that was so that happened. I think they go on another set of dates, maybe.
Yep, they do, and they're completely detached from all of them.
Yeah, so they do their next set of dates, all that mumbo jumbo, and then what brings them back together?
Amy gets paired with someone who they claim is technically her ultimate match. And she's kind of like, oh, hell no. And he's like, they come across each other for that. Because it was supposed to be like another celebration thing.
So was he?
They were in the same restaurant. I guess so, because that's when they decide to rebel.
Okay.
But does this kind of speak to how women are more likely to kind of just throw caution to the wind when it comes to romantic relationships, where men teeter on the side of, I don't know, and I'm not trying to just not generalize, but just from what we see in media and people we know, let's be real, women are much more of like, yes, this is going to work and we're going to do everything, and you know what I mean? I'm just screaming this horribly.
No, I get what
where
you mean. I get what
men
you mean.
are just more cautious to make it official and, you know, make it work. Just go with it, so to speak.
I would, because you're not trying to generalize. In this situation, yes. In this situation, yes.
It's like a subconscious thing.
I mean, that was kind of. I feel like most people would say yes. Like, women are like when they make their mind up, or maybe they're quicker to make their mind up. I'm not sure.
That's what I'm trying to say.
That when they make their mind up, that they're just like, cool, I'm all in. Where
exactly that's it.
The guy was still filling it out. He wanted like reassurance before he put all in, I guess, in the situation.
Thank you. That's yes.
Okay.
That's essentially what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I would say for generalization, yeah, like, you know, no harm in that one. I do think it's kind of like personality, like she seemed to be more of the aggressor, like not the aggressor in a bad way, but she seemed to be more like the person making the moves in that type of relationship.
Indeed.
Like, she was moving a little bit quicker. She was like, okay, I kind of know. I know what I want. She got him to break his shell to give him like the kiss for them to have sex. Like, she had him do something, and then like as he was trying to talk, like she just ran up and kissed him, so that way he couldn't overthink it.
Yeah, and remember, he was so nervous in the beginning. Like, he was knocking things over. Like,
Yeah.
their first date was kind of a disaster if you think about it.
Yeah.
But she made him feel comfortable by just kind of laughing and going along with it, cracking the jokes and everything.
Yeah. So, I think in that situation, she was always going to be the one. Once she made her mind up, it was golden. Like, he was going to follow along because he was already enamored with her. Like, he was already stuck on her. He might not have been able to say it, articulate it, or know how to be smooth to like get the girl or whatever. But as soon as she made up her mind and went all in, like, it was a done deal. So yeah, I would agree with that. So I don't know. I feel like their awkwardness in that was basically the same as I feel like people have with online dating. Like Tinder, stuff like that. Like, basically you just randomly see a face and you just start talking. That's kind of how Tinder, you know, in a sense works. Like, you just see a face. You basically pull up, walk up to the table as he did, and you're like, oh, hey. You start your conversation like, hey, how you doing, this and that. You sit down and, you know, you go from there. And it seems so awkward. Maybe it's meant to be universally awkward for everybody, but the whole notion just seems awkward, and I guess that's why I'm still leery on internet dating. But I've heard success stories, and I've heard stories that were just like basically turned out like their first date. You know, there was just like, that was trash. I could have did something else with my time. So, yeah, that was my thoughts on that. Any questions, thoughts?
I think my biggest takeaway from it's like, you have to reach a point where you're tired. Because there's a certain degree where, you know, people put on certain facades and they have certain expectations of what they think they want or think they demand and will take no less. And I think you have to reach a point where you come to reality where it's like, no, I'm just going to go into this completely open-minded. I'm going to be 100% authentic myself, not put on any acts or facades or anything, and just see where this goes.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where the issue is with online dating and just dating in general. People expect too much out of others and expect too much out of themselves without being realistic, I feel like.
Yeah, but online dating makes it easier for you to always put your best foot forward. Like, kind of like long distance relationship. Like, it makes it easier because you lose the physicalness in a sense. Like, but with that, you also get to kind of like pregame, like prep for any interaction. So you can always, you know, look your best self. If you do makeup, you can do that, or your hair a certain way, dress a certain way. Guys can do the same thing, dress a certain way, be clean cut before every interaction. Because, you know, you might be doing video chat, or you might only meet once a month, you know, once every now and then. So you could prep yourself for that, so you always are showing your best self, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're showing your true self.
Yes. And you know what's the absolutely worst? Have you ever dated someone and it's like they do all of these things in the beginning, whether it's just how they groom themselves or how they speak and how they behave and how they carry themselves, just general things like that, and then after they get comfortable for a while, it is the total complete opposite, and they are like nothing like what they presented.
Yeah, I've definitely dated some people like that.
And it's just like, what the actual hell? And then like they turn into a person you don't like them at all. Nothing about them.
Because
it's like, how did we get here? Because it was just fake from the beginning.
Yeah, because you bought into the
act.
The act. Yeah, what they wanted you to see of them. Of their best self, their projection of themselves. It's kind of okay. You made a great point. And whole was it Hang the DJ? when they go to the house and they actually have to live together, like stay in the same quarters, like stay in the same space. That is the same way when people talk about like, would they live with another person or wait till they're like fully in a relationship or they're getting married, things like that before they move in. I personally, and this is just my facts, I personally think if I'm gonna be long term with somebody, me and them we're gonna have to be staying like with each other at some point, like whether it's like a week at a time or we both, we get to a level where we can move in together, combine resources, stuff like that. Because
get away from the mic, Rock. Sorry.
What up, Rocket? Rocket knows about that. Living them doghouse lives. Frequenting them other doghouses. But like, a person, they come and visit, they hang over, people have their travel bags. They're not, they're full of them. When a person stays 2 weeks, a month, 3 months, 6 months, you start to realize the certain tendencies that they had, they don't do anymore. Or, the things you thought was them, that whether it's something simple as they leave toilet seats up, right? Or toothbrushes out.
Or don't brush their teeth at all.
Or don't brush their teeth at all in the morning or at night. You know what I'm saying? Or at night.
Yeah.
What was like? They don't take the trash out, or they take
don't wash
dish,
their hands.
Oh my goodness! I don't even. That would have to be a intervention. Like it would have to be a sit down. Like, yo, did you not wash your hands? Bro, take your butt back in there and do that again. I'll give you some Dawn soap. Like, you better wash your hands. You nasty. But like, I'm with you. Like, it's that facade. Like a person doesn't show their real selves. I'm trying to think of like a funny thought. Like people when they first start out, they don't pass gas around each other. They don't burp, stuff like that, right? Or typically. I feel like you're gonna be like, not me. Like that's what I feel like you were just like, nope, first day, put it on. Like that's what I feel like you about to say. But it's your normal.
Well, it is me you were talking about.
You know what I'm saying? And but like after months and months, a person might be cutting one while y'all sitting there under covers. You know what I'm saying? I knew my buddy and his now wife were gonna be a thing because they chased each other around our dorm room apartment, pooping on each other.
Oh yeah, surprise Dutch oven somebody.
There you go. There you go. Get some every time.
That's a bond, man.
Yeah, they now know what love is. So, but yeah, Black Mirror did a really good job. It was actually really good episode. Kind of scary in a sense that I think the future could go to this, like go to a Black Mirror type situation. Because we already have the smart apps, the smartphones, the things basically keeping notes and information on us. We have smart watches that tell us our moods watches that tell us our moods and
isn't that what eHarmony claims to be, that old man in the commercials? They had like create an algorithm to find your perfect partner.
Yeah, that's the 99.8 part, but I don't think they really like putting a beeper on you, putting a Fitbit on you, and it's like, all right, go do your thing. We're just gonna record all your reactions.
Give it 5 years.
Yeah. So, but some of those points was actually really dope. But the whole thing about if you get like a month, or the old dude got a year or 9 months with somebody you can't stand, that's gonna feel like eternal hell. Like that's gonna feel like hell.
Exactly.
Like them two couldn't wait for their cars to pull up. Yeah, if he knew, he would have. No, he already pressed the button early, so nope, didn't help him. He did it right.
I think there are some people that stay in situations like that even now just because they're comfortable or are afraid of trying something else.
I think that's the biggest thing. When people get to a point where they're more afraid of starting over or looking for something that's better for them,
or even just being alone, figuring it out.
Yeah. You know how people are. People don't like being alone. You know, a few people like really being alone. Like, it's one thing to be a introvert or extrovert. You know what I'm saying? Like, where you can take your quality time alone and recharge and do that. And then there's another thing to be like completely alone, and everybody acts like they're on an island, castaway style, all by themselves, and they're never going to run into another person. And it's not that situation. Like, you run into hundreds of people in a day. Now, you might not try to get at 100 people in a day, or maybe you do. You know, it's here nor there. I'm not on how many shots you taking right now on your shot selections. But like, people, I feel like people take it to the extreme as if they're a castaway now. Like it's just them, and maybe they're volleyball. They got their Wilson, and that's it. Like, nobody else is gonna love them like Wilson.
You're right.
So, any other thoughts on any of the Black Mirror episodes? Did you have any questions on me with the Tinder, all that mumbo jumbo?
Yeah, since I kind of busted you out last time.
Yeah.
Because you had just signed up for Tinder, right? Right before we had discussed this.
Yes.
Right before you saw the episode.
Yeah, I just signed up earlier that day. Yeah, probably like a couple hours. Probably a couple hours before I saw that episode. Yeah.
Did that change your perspective after signing up for Tinder and then watching the episode?
It just made me more leery. So I'm already I've been on record saying I don't like internet dating or things like that. Like, me, I would rather somebody tell me, like, hey, I know a person. You know, maybe that could work, you know, set it up, this and that. Like, somebody can vouch for that person. Like, randomly meeting a person is, I mean, outside of, like, you're at a coffee shop, a club, a whatever, a concert, you talk, you make your interaction that way. Like, that's one thing. But just, like, randomly surfing, like, that's like me going into a chat room online or in the comments section and then being like, hey, your profile picture's hot. What you doing Thursday? Like, it's weird as hell.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's just for me. Like, I get that in this time, everything's digital. People aren't going out to all these places. There's a lot of people who only come out in certain seasons of the year. so, you know, this is a way for them to stay in touch, you know, make those connections. People are busy, you know, you can actually plan around, like, hey, Thursday, gonna get coffee, or gonna go rock climbing, something like that. I get the pros of it, but seeing that episode, them being locked in, I was like, nope. Me thinking of some of the more hilarious dates that I've went on, I thought how they were ranked, like how they would play out in some of these situations. Like, I think I said a long time ago, like a person that walked off of my popcorn in the movie theater. You know what I'm saying? Like, for them, I was like, would that thing had said, if we had pressed the button before that moment, would it have said a month? Few months? You know what I'm saying? Like 6 months? Or would it have said like 3 hours? You know what I'm saying? Like, where would it have been? Like, would it have been like 12 hours? And then that shenanigans happened. And one thing it never discussed was, what happens in arguments? What happens when there's arguments between the two and you're like, you know what? Fuck what you just said. I'm out. Like, what happens in an argument where they say something so crazy that you're like, I'm not dealing with you.
True.
So, I don't know. It made me, I mean, just as normal Larry, but then again, I was seeing Tinder and I was like, I seen the people on there, and I was like, yeah, okay. You know, like, some faces look familiar. I've seen friends of the family on there. I've seen people who I went to school with on there. So it's been interesting. I've seen just complete strangers that I've never seen or met before, but we apparently have common people amongst us. So
I always find it so interesting because I've never signed up, even create a profile just out of curiosity for online dating. So I love hearing stories about it.
Oh. Okay.
I personally could never.
you know what? It's winter. And I figured, why not? Why not? I forgot who tried to convince me.
It works for you too, though, because you're a sociable guy. Me, I hate people in general, and I'm already super judgmental. I hate it. I'm working on it. God's not done with me yet. I'm working on it.
Fair.
But I'm super judgmental.
I'm a sociable person, but I'm not for everybody. Like.
True.
My humor is different. The way I think and analyze things is different. Like, I was sitting there talking to somebody. We were sitting across the table, and we were talking about, like, when's your birthday, blah, 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 right? And I was sitting there like, oh, yeah, my birthday's coming up, blah, blah, blah. I've known them for a period of time. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like I do know them for a period of time. Like, we were in a space, we're going to stop by, say what's up, things like that. And I was straight up like, oh, yeah, I'm thinking about doing, like, a huge group trip, If you, feel like it, shit, stop, go on the trip, too. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm going to, a different city, shit, hell, come out, too. You cool peoples. I can say that without me thinking, like, oh, you're going to be my date to go on a trip with me. Like, right?
Exactly.
But I feel like, as the person heard it, they was like, that's weird. Like, why? I've known you. If I can invite you to an after party over to my place, house, something like that, to another venue, to a concert, this and that, what's the difference for me inviting a whole lot of other friends and you being amongst them and I'm calling you a friend? Like, but that's my logic. But theirs was almost as if I asked them, like, me and you could go for my 30th birthday together to a different city and hang out. Mm-hmm. Not the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know you like that. So, like, I understand me being a social person. Yeah, everybody's not gonna just get me off the bat or understand how I communicate. So, and some of that's I gotta tailor my conversation towards my messenger. You know what I'm saying? Who I'm talking to.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to keep butting heads, and it's just a simple fix where you can just kind of alter how you communicate.
Exactly.
So, but that's also the trick with, that's also the catch with, like online dating or just speed dating or meeting people in general. Each person's different, and you don't know if you're gonna instantly hit it off the bat or give it a few moments. You warm up and you figure which channel you both can hear each other clearly on.
Mm-hmm.
So,
love languages, man.
Bump them love language. I'm literally what the hell's my love language? I think affirmation's my top one. So out of the 5, gifts are my lowest. Affirmation, I think, is my highest. I think it's like a 9. The other 3 are 8s, evenly 8s. And then, like, gifts is like a 4. They're like a 3 or a 4. Like, so apparently, I'll take love however I can get it. Besides gifts, really. Don't get me wrong, I'm appreciative. Huh? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Was it physical? I don't remember. Shoot.
I think it's like physical touch. It's like touch, words of affirmation, acts of service, gifts. I can't remember the others. I used to have the book. I have it somewhere around here in a box.
Yeah, somebody's gonna be screaming at the podcast. Truly, I dropped this. I talk about this probably like once a week to somebody, probably. It doesn't matter, but you all get what I'm talking about. Like those are my love languages, and like it's really interesting because most of the tests that I do, like I did the colors. I don't know if you ever did the real colors. I'm a chameleon. Like I blend in and out of the colors. Like I'm green, logical, and then I've
never heard of that one.
Oh yeah, I'll get you. I have the book. You can just You and Locke could probably do it. Y'all might actually like it. You all like there's some pictures, there's some words. You rate them on a scale basically, and then you add up all the information, and it tells you like what colors you are. But like green's logical, orange is kind of like spontaneous, outgoing, stuff like that. Blue is more feelings, emotional, and yellow is more what's the right word? The people who are like leaders, but they're like, I can do this myself. Like I'd rather just get out the way. I'll do this.
Eek. I feel attacked.
You are definitely gold. You are definitely gold. Like when I took it, I basically was figuring out who everybody was, like what I believe everybody's colors would be. You're definitely gold, and everybody normally has like one high one, maybe two high ones, but typically one that's higher than the others, and then the rest fall into place. But if you're within a certain range, like 3 to 6 or 6 points, you could easily blend into that other color like at any time. So for me, I can blend into logic, spontaneous, feelings, and then the other one. I can't think of I can't think of what it is, but you're basically like the alpha person. So yeah, it's really weird. Like my blends is like typically I'm well blended, and I can just kind of like pop in and out of whatever, which might make it hard for people to read me. I don't know.
Oh, definitely.
I don't know. I blend in. I'm a chameleon.
Nothing wrong with it.
All right. You want to hit any more topics, or are you feeling good for this?
We covered a lot, man. There's so much. That was my favorite part about Hang the DJ. There is so much. You can interpret it in so many different ways. And I feel like I haven't rewatched it, but I feel like if I did go back and rewatch it, I would take something else away from it that I might have missed, or just have a new perspective on it.
The only other thing I wanted to know at the end of that episode was, do they get the memories of all the experiences?
Ooh, good question.
Because if they do, he bet not break her trust again. He bet not do it. If she says every Thursday we're going to meet up at this same bar at this same hour, Mrs. and Mrs. Jones style, or the same cafe. Yeah, that's the right one. Mr. and Mrs. Jones. Yeah, they meet up at the same
They
bar.
got a thing going on.
Yeah.
The only thing is they had other people wait for them at home.
Hey.
I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but it did.
Hey, shouts out to Mr. and Mrs. Jones.
I used to love that until I realized what it was really about.
Oh, I still love the song even more now. Because now I can understand and appreciate how thoughtish that generation was.
Yeah, they had a lot of songs like that.
There was so many side chicks and side dudes and side pieces and all that. People were just happy.
Exactly. I mean, like, how many of your granddaddies had a whole family away across town?
Hey. We leave granddaddies out of this, all right? We leave granddaddies out of this, all right? Granddaddies and grandmamas, we leaving them out of this, all right? This is so.
And there's something wrong with us.
Hey, they're not leaving their main squeeze. They just need a little forbidden fruit from time to time. That's it.
Discretion was everything. That's the only difference. People don't have discretion these days.
Oh yeah. No. I think both of their husbands and wives, whoever they had it back at home, knew that they were stepping out and going to a cafe. You know, every day. Them receipts, really? Them receipts.
But hey, that old generation, and then you know what the side chicks say: just don't embarrass me. It's okay if I don't want everybody else to know. The love and hip hop chicks, isn't that what they say?
You're asking totally the wrong person. I think I've seen like 3 episodes of Love and Hip Hop, and I was being forced. Like I was sitting down with somebody else, and they had the remote. I would probably want to watch Yo Gabba Gabba over Love and Hip Hop.
Hey, Yo Gabba Gabba was that show.
Okay, What's a show that's just...
I really wish it still came on, actually. There's a party in my tummy. So yummy. Toddler Laura used to get down to that show.
Oh my goodness. I would rather want to watch Teletubbies
Oh,
than
yeah, that's...
that show. The other show, the hip hop shows.
Yeah.
Hip hop wives.
None of them are even wives.
See, even more. You know what? I'm not dealing with this. That's just like the title of this episode. Hang the DJ. What are we doing here? I was listening for DJ. I was listening for DJs all the whole time.
None of these people have released a song.
Was Cardi B on one of those?
She was on Love and Hip Hop New York for 2 seasons and then jumped off as soon as her career launched.
She was smart. She made it.
She did. She's the only person that did it right because she hustled her heart off and she got the platform she needed to get the attention, and she kept working in the studio and actually made good music.
Those ain't red bottoms.
These is bloody shoes.
And on that note,
she's like America's sweetheart. I love her.
I got no beef with her. I got no beef with her. Her songs bop. I'm looking forward to seeing what she's gonna do for her sophomore year. Is her first year done, or are we still in she's halfway in her first year?
I mean, 2017 was like her first year. I mean, she's still kind of going through it, but I mean, she's gonna perform at the Grammys with Bruno Mars. She's had one hell of a year.
I don't know. How do you feel about that Bruno Mars song? Like that.
What do you mean? How do I feel? You know how I feel about him.
Oh gosh, I should have just turned the whole episode off right there.
That album is you know how, I don't know, well, every family, when you grow up, you have that album that your parents played all the time and would sing and dance to and stuff. That's 24 karat magic for my household. Laura knows every single word to every single song on the CD. Me and Locke jam around to it. We went to the concert. Finesse is my favorite song on the album already. So then when he came out and did it with Cardi B and did a Living Color tribute music video, how could I be mad?
I might have became a bit of a Bruno Mars fan.
I mean, do you see the dance moves? The man can dance his ass off. And that was what I thought about the concert. He moves.
It was a simple routine. I give him that. It was cool. It was a cool routine.
See, this is what I like about him. He's just even at the concert, it's just effortlessly cool, and that's how it was the whole concert. He sang from top to bottom, never took a break, and him and his band were just dancing the entire time. Even on the slow songs, they had their little choreography. It felt real old school and effortless and cool.
Right. So I may go see a Bruno Mars concert this year.
Yeah.
Tank and the Bangers are coming back.
I saw that.
I think y'all need to be in the building.
When is it?
I think it's May. If it's earlier than that, then hell, I'll just buy the tickets for everybody. No, bump it. I'm not buying the tickets for everybody. That's silly. I ain't got that type of money.
Let's see.
That was 2017 brand. That was the old brand. It's new brand. It's not. We're not doing that no more.
We gotta see what Miss Evelyn Giselle's talking about first.
Yeah, you're right. You do. You do. But we'll figure that all out. So
me just went so off the rails.
Hey, this is a liquid drop. We gave advice. We now gave people to things they could go see while they're on date night. So go check out our Bruno Mars concert. Watch it on YouTube. Go check out Tank and the Bangers if you've never heard of them. It is a lady, not Tank, who's coming to Louisville, but Tank and the Bangers. Check them out. They got a dope vibe to them. And yeah, so we'll just hang the DJ on that.
Indeed.
So thank you everybody for listening to another episode of Liquid Drop. You had my buddy, my friend, my partner, Shayna. She was in the building.
I was.
And you have any other nuggets that you'd like to drop on before we end?
Not at this time. I'm drawing a blank.
All right.
And this was enjoyable.
Huh?
This was enjoyable.
Oh, great time. we'll run it back another time because we got more Black Mirror to talk about. But,
Oh, indeed.
glad for everybody sticking with us and going through our little tangent. Until we meet again. Peace.
Arrivederci.